So it's Sunday morning, I'm leaving church, and the message this morning was just what I needed. I've realized throughout my years of being a Christian, trying to grow my faith, continually failing, and just going in and out of different flows and times in my relationship with God, that going to church and reading my Bible, like, it's never about me, right? I used to find myself complaining about the message, like, oh, this didn't serve me. But it's like, the point is not for it to serve me. The point is for it to glorify God, right? But, it's such a blessing just because I've been wrestling with so much these past couple of months. And I kind of wanted to share a little something that it helped me learn. And for those of you guys who've never seen my videos before, and you're like, why are you in a Ferrari at church? I usually bring my truck, but my Ferrari just got a new wrap. It's red. And so I just, I took it out for a Sunday morning drive, went to the gym this morning. And so what I want to do with this video is, just as a 21-year-old entrepreneur, I want to use what I learned today and what my pastor taught about as far as individualism goes, which is, not biblical, but it can seem biblical. I want to teach, and hopefully it can apply to your life wherever you are, whether you're a business owner, whether you're also an online coach trying to scale your business 50 to 100K a month, whether you have an in-person business, whether you have a landscaping business, whether you're in college, fighting and wrestling with what your purpose is going to be, or, whether you're 45 years old with 3 kids, and you're just kind of in that state of feeling like you're lost in the mundane, or maybe you've waited too long to achieve some of the goals and the things that you've wanted to achieve with your life. So, as everyone's walking behind, it reminds me of how in this city, especially in Miami, there's guys in a Huracan next to me. There was a guy and my boy Spencer was in a Ferrari F8. There's normal cars. There's a Nissan over there in that parking lot, but there's lots of Lambos. There's lots of Ferraris around. There's lots of successful young people, and we're very, very quick to in Miami to just portray who we want to be. And I think that a lot of the young, successful mindset that people have gotten from consuming Instagram and YouTube is just like, oh, it's just me, myself, and God. Me, myself, and God. And that's what Pastor Rich was talking about today. He was like, it's not just supposed to be you, yourself, and God, because we are called to serve the community. And I've been fighting a lot with myself recently, thinking about the past 3 years, scaling my business, going from making car talks just like this in my Acura that I had when I was 17 years old, working as a personal trainer, having a Rolodex of clients on. I used to work TaskRabbit. I would drive around Atlanta, mowing people's grass, putting IKEA furniture together, everything like that. And recently I've finally made enough money, and I've been in Miami and I'm separated from the pain that I used to be in for long enough that I've really just started to reflect, where are the biggest changes? Why do I feel, slightly more internally lost than I did when I had no money, right? And I always quickly want to tell myself, I know exactly why. But recently, I feel like I've found exactly what it is. And it's that once you get in a flow, once it becomes mundane, once you have gained some success, or, you've proved to yourself that an idea works, you start to execute on that idea over and over and over and over again. And I've seen this with so many different people, success-wise, whether it be, somebody I'm talking to who has a 9-figure net worth, whether it be one of my hundreds of clients that I help scale their online business. You have to continue to show your individuality to everyone else, okay? Not just trap it within yourself, because what I've realized is it's been such a struggle for me to make content recently. And I'm like, why is it a struggle for me to make content when I have my dream cars, I'm living in my dream apartment, I have all of these, cool things? And I've realized it's because I'm keeping myself one-dimensional. for so long, my focus was to go from, just a kid who was born in Alabama who, never thought it was possible for anyone to make more than 200 grand a year, to like expanding my mindset to being like, I want to make 200 grand a month, right? To 400 grand a month, where my business is at right now. And, I'm in the process of scaling to 600, 850, a million. Those are the next few goals. But I've found that I've trapped myself in this one dimension of just cars and money in my content. But in my head, all I'm thinking about 24/7 is like buying land, long-term investments, where's Bitcoin going to go, right? In my head, I'm like, trying to find a wonderful woman to be in a relationship with, especially in a city like Miami. It's so difficult, and I'm not out looking for it, because I know that God is going to plant the woman that, is for me into my life, but just constantly praying, Father, sculpt me and mold me into the man that you would have, that you would trust with one of your daughters, the woman that you have created for me, because I know she is out there, right? And just constantly trying to shape my mind in these things, right? I'm very into politics, not like the right or left politics, but I'm very, very into like staying up to date on what's going on, because, I feel like our government and our daily life is going to change, very, very much as we move forward. I've had dreams my entire life since I was young about, almost there being some sort of like civil war where, it's just me and my family and we have to survive, right? I don't want to go too deep into that right now, but I know that there's other of you out there who know what I'm saying. So like, I've spent a ton of money on guns. I just went shooting yesterday, and I have this dream of being like, I didn't go to the Army. I wasn't a Navy SEAL or any of these things, but I've always been obsessed and respected, even more than any business entrepreneur. It's like the Navy SEALs and the Delta Force and the DevGru and SEAL Team 6. And I watch all the podcasts, DJ Shipley. My favorite podcast is not even a business podcast. It's the Sean Ryan Show. There's all these things that I'm constantly consuming and thinking about and wrestling with and creating solutions for on a day-to-day basis. But in my content and in my business, I've trapped myself to one dimension. And I'm very multi-dimensional, right? I can go out and I can have dinner with my friends in my Ferrari, and I can wear some $1,500 red bottoms and my Rolex Daytona, and then the next day I can take my TRX out and I can go and drive through the mud and wear some jeans and some boots and go shooting and listen to some country music, right? This is like my life, because I was raised in Alabama. Most of my childhood was spent in the woods. I used to build zip lines. Me and my friends, we would go and we would explore inside of like the lots that they were building. In the middle of the night, we'd go and we'd see these houses that they were building, and we would build tree houses, and I would just be in my imagination all day long out in the country. And so I think a lot of us halt our success once we have found it. We keep ourselves from continuing to grow because we're like, okay, we changed ourselves from what we were. Let's just stop changing ourselves now because this works. But in order for you to fully reach your potential, you have to destroy all the vices, destroy all the bad habits, destroy all of the things about you that keep you from becoming who you need to be. And once you start seeing success, you can't just stop changing. You have to almost start to embrace who you are more, right? I've gone so far-fledged, like, city and, apartment living. It's basically a house, but, for Miami standards, it's apartment living, $10,000 a month on this, $1,000 dinners, that I feel like I've lost a bit of who I am. And it's not that internally I've lost it. Always, I'm in my head thinking about these things, but when I pick up the camera, I feel like the audience doesn't know who I am anymore. And I feel like there's that disconnect, right? Originally, I built my brand on just being vulnerable with exactly who I was. And my whole point with this video on this beautiful Sunday morning is just to remind you, do not try and conform your vision to what the world has for you, right? My point with individualism, with what my pastor said, is that he's like, you can't just be you, yourself, and God, right? My audience, the people that I've been blessed to share my message and my story and my success and all the lessons and wisdom that I've learned with, it's not fair for me to just have all of these other dimensions that I enjoy and that I deal with and that I speak about in my mind, and then not share them with my audience that's followed me on my journey. And that's what will halt your success. So if you're anywhere on your journey where it doesn't matter if you're making $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, and you just feel like, why can't I reach that next level? I don't want to change the things that have given me success, but you just start to feel mundane, even though you have the car, you have the watches, maybe you have the freedom, maybe you have the woman, the kids, and the house, and everything that you've looked for. You have to continue to let your audience grow with you and be willing to lose people who might have followed you a year ago, who haven't evolved into the things that you have evolved into now, or be the one that introduces that to them. Because what I've realized is your vision cannot be something that you've seen before, right? And I keep telling myself, $1 million a month is coming, $1 million a month is coming. But I've realized the more I focus on reaching $1 million a month, the more I start to become like the number one thing that I started my brand to destroy. I started my brand because I was like, there's no other 18-year-old guys. There's no other 18-year-old guys who I don't think are just gay, to be honest, that I can listen to, that I'm motivated by, that I feel like are down to earth, that I feel like have wisdom. So I'm just gonna be that guy for myself. And I've realized now there's no dudes out there that are my age that are 21 years old who aren't consumed by the bottle service and the women and the strip clubs and the, all this stuff of Miami, who aren't consumed by treating God like a vending machine. They read their Bible on their story so that people trust them more instead of just to build a better relationship with Christ. And I see all these things in my head of just even down to the things that I wear. Like, this isn't like typical Miami clothes. Usually I'm wearing, some khaki pants and a collared shirt. And that's not normal for Miami, but it's so authentic to me. I'm from Alabama, and I've realized I have to stop changing myself into who I've seen make $1 million a month. Because think about it this way. You can't imagine a new color. I heard one of my boys say this, and everything started to click. You can't imagine a new color, right? You can't. So if you're imagining success within your head, all you are doing is reciprocating a vision you've already seen. So in order for you to actually reach your own and your fullest version of success, it has to be something you haven't seen before. And that doesn't mean that, 5 out of the 5 things all have to be new. There might be 4 things that are similar about you and 1 thing that you've never seen before. For instance, most dudes who drive a Ferrari, their end goal is not to have 100 acres with their family, raise their, homeskill their children and, and raise them on animal-based products outside of the government schools so that they're not getting brainwashed. I want to share all of these things that I truly enjoy and think about on a day-to-day basis. And I know that is going to be the thing that expands my brand and takes my audience to the next level. And so I challenge you, no matter where you're at in life, you're trying to scale your business, you already have a business and you're taking it to the next level, you have an online business, a brick and mortar business, whether you're growing your relationship with God, whether you're trying to prepare and mold yourself for a good wife who can take care of your children, whether you're about to move to a new city, whether you're about to send it down to Miami and you don't know whether you're going to survive or not, I will say one thing. Never, ever, ever kill your multi-dimensionalism in order to fit the mold of other people. It doesn't matter how much success you've had. You must continue to grow externally as much as you've grown internally so that you can match who you truly are. You cannot discard the community and just be like, no, I want all these thoughts to myself. The more that you share, the more value that you provide that you've personally dealt with, the more that will be entrusted and given to you. I love you guys. Happy Sunday. Let's have an amazing week. Let's give everything to the Lord. He is the God that gives and He is the God that takes away. So no matter what happens to you, always know that He is in control. I love you guys. Let's go.